Huge news for the Raiders overnight. We had to say it to ourselves again at the table, a couple of those facts that Ian just pointed out, that this was done at 10 p.m. local in Las Vegas, so it rained down 1 a.m. Eastern. And the fact that, unfortunately for Josh McDaniels, this is his second time he has been relieved of his duties as a head coach mid-season, the first coming with the Denver Broncos. Peter, when you learned of this, when did you learn of this? And when you learned of it, what did you think?
I'll be honest, I learned of it when I woke up at 4:30 on the East Coast, and I was very surprised because I think Josh and Dave signed Josh signed a 6-year deal.
Yeah.
6 years guaranteed, a year and a half in. I mean, we're talking millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars, and this isn't a team that's endless. You're saying that the entire thing, top to bottom, has to be scrapped now, at this hot moment, now. And that just tells me that it was that toxic in that building, and that Mark Davis probably was talking around with the players, and that they had totally not in anymore, and they were done. When you hear the comments that Josh Jacobs was saying, who's a longtime veteran there, Davante Adams, a lot of times the owner will side with the coach and the GM. A lot and say, well, get rid of them. Trade deadline passed, not a single get rid of veteran player was traded for Raiders. Josh McDaniels and Dave Ziegler were supposed to rebuild this thing from the bottom after they hired them instead of just sticking with Bisaccia after Bisaccia took them to the playoffs as an interim coach after they fired Gruden. This is shocking. It's also shocking because, you know, they brought in Jimmy Garoppolo. They brought in a couple of these other Raiders veterans that were there. You had Patriots veterans that were there. They started off, they had 6 Patriots on the roster, I think, last year to start their season. They have less now. Even the Tom Brady connection, talking about ownership, like there still was this Patriots feel. They are completely ridding themselves of this Patriots feel now. And they go to Antonio Pierce, who here in New York is a beloved giant who's been coaching in high school and has been now in the NFL for a bit. And he apparently has the locker room, and they're going to try to get through this season. Antonio Pierce, and then Champ Kelly, who has been in the league for a long time as an executive and a respected guy, is going to take over. But Ziegler and McDaniels at 1 a.m. are no longer part of this thing, when I thought this was going to be a long-term build and that Davis was going to stand beside them because he didn't want to do this again after firing Gruden. I am genuinely surprised that this didn't happen right after the game, that happened at this hour, but also they got through the trade deadline and then it happened. My last point, and it's not as serious as what we're talking about here, I dressed as Al Davis for Halloween yesterday. Yeah. The amount of tweets I got, and I don't read Twitter all day long, I'm saying hundreds and hundreds of Raiders fans saying, can the ghost of Al Davis come back and fire Josh McDaniels? And I would just read it like, that's not cool. Like, Josh McDaniels got fired. Like, he got fired. I didn't think there was a chance this early in the season in year 2 that could actually happen. I thought there was a much more likely opportunity of one of those veteran players being shipped off and a message being made like, hey, get in line. No, the owner went with the players over the coach and the GM, and they're starting from scratch yet again, which is a wild scenario considering we just hired McDaniels and Ziegler just last offseason.
No doubt about it. And what you ended with, you said sided with players. And I felt like that was last year. You get rid of Carr, and you said Josh comes in, Ziegler comes in, and they're bringing in the New England Patriot guys and everybody. You're trying to reestablish this culture. But as you say, and build this thing from the bottom up, they were in the playoffs the year before they got there. So it's like, we're bringing you guys in. We don't need you to tear things down. We kind of need you guys to just pick up where it left off and now get us over the hump. And when you see something like this done, you think about it last week, they were saying, all right, the Raiders had this passionate meeting where they just laid all the cards on the table, players, coaches, and you're letting it all. Whenever you hear something like that, it's almost like, uh-oh. And then you see Davante Adams slamming his helmet. And you see Josh Jacobs. These are the guys that you're paying to be your absolute superstars. Like, these are the guys that the coaching staff, the general manager, they decided to franchise Josh Jacobs. They decided to go out and get Davante Adams and pay him. So these are the guys you've brought in that you're saying, or you've kept, that these are our guys. And they're very unhappy. And on top of that, you look at it, Josh is an offensive coach. This Raiders offense hadn't scored 20 points this season.
Great
so I
point.
think those are some of the things that, as an owner, Mark Davis, you're looking at it and you're like, all right, we're struggling. Well, if it's the defense, maybe we lean on our head coach to go out and get somebody other than Pat Graham. But the defense is playing well. So you're like, all right, Pat, where do our issues lie? And I think that's kind of where it all came into. But very surprising, Halloween night to see something like this going on. And to your point, Shregs, the trade deadline pass, all of these different markers is just like, all right, like were they expecting something to happen at the trade deadline that didn't, and now expect, like, all right, let's get rid of them and start over. Now they have an entire season. And you talked about Pierce and Champ Kelly, like, as those guys were watching over the course of the past year and a half, and they're in their notebook, and you're writing things down that you would do differently, that I think every coach and assistant, general manager, whoever, they're always doing that to build for their future. In the next few weeks, it'll be interesting to see what they saw of the things that needed to be changed from a quarterback standpoint, personnel standpoint. What are the things that right away we're like, oh, wow, this is different with the Raiders?
I don't know. I found out from a Judy Batista tweet this morning at 4:30 in the morning. And I'm different than you, Peter. I would say I was like 3 out of 10 surprised.
Okay.
Wow. Like, I was not surprised.
Because of the Raiders' history? Or
I think because of what happened the other night, what happened this season, and it felt like rock bottom. And I know they owe him a lot of money, but I've learned that these owners don't care about the money. Like, they'd rather get the product. I think what they really get angry about and what billionaires hate is when they spend money on a luxury and it doesn't work out or it embarrasses them. Like, I'm looking at the money not spending on McDaniels, on Davante Adams. Like, you got him one catch in a nationally televised game. Like, get the hell out of here. And if they did let go of him, of course there's contracts and he hasn't had that much time, but it must just be so bad. It must be. It must be so bad. Also, I just go back to, especially with the front office, like, what was the plan? I go back to, let me know what your plan was. So you buy all this, you buy Davante Adams, you bring him in, great. And we're going to pair him with Derek Carr, and, like, we think we can win. All right, fine. Well, then you just completely pulled the rug out and said, Derek Carr, you're benched, you're out of here. Garoppolo?
Yeah.
That's your savior? I like Jimmy. We all like Jimmy. You like Jimmy. I think we all know exactly what Jimmy is and what Jimmy isn't. It's like, if anything, it was a lateral move from Carr. It was probably a bit of a step back. That was the plan in the front office. And it's like, it was under this veil of this, like, well, he has this history with Josh. Come on. He won a few games a couple of years ago during Deflategate. Like, it's like we're reuniting Montana with Walsh. Come on, guys. Jimmy Garoppolo was never going to be this savior of the franchise. Of course, Davante Adams is spiking his helmet. He's playing with Jimmy. Jimmy is Jimmy. And, like, I don't even put that all on McDaniels. That's a front office thing, and that's why the front office is cleared out. But the McDaniels, like, this is a guy who has 6 Super Bowl rings. 6 Super Bowl rings at home. And he has 2 midseason firings. And you know what I come back to? Like, this is just disposable Raiders fluff. Like, I don't know if there was one memorable moment from the Josh McDaniels era. I know he beat Belichick. Like, that's more of a personal thing. That's not the Raiders thing. And I look at the Kansas City Chiefs. And look, when you're the king of the division, you're the king. During the Andy Reid era, 17 different coaches have coached the Broncos, the Chargers, and the Raiders.
Damn, wow.
17!
Really?
Antonio Pierce is the 17th guy to be like, I'm the head coach of this team, to Andy Reid's 1. So it's like Belichick used to do in the AFC East, just wreck coaches and just dispose of them. That's what the Chiefs are doing, and that's just the next one in line. It's a shame. The Raiders deserve better, but at least they have a fresh start.
Well, speaking to the Raiders' plan and the decision tree that they had when they hired Ziegler and when Ziegler picked McDaniels, it's like not only did they lean on the New England tree, it was like the New England offensive tree. So to make that decision knowing that Josh McDaniels, you are supposed to come in and have worked magical things for a Bill Belichick who is a defensive guy, and you were his offensive guru, and you're going to come to Las Vegas or to the Raiders and create an offensive mastermind, and then this is your own decision-making tree. To not only go from Derek Carr to Jimmy Garoppolo, but then to draft a quarterback and to give him a try and not have this be some like electric factory decision. It makes me think in terms of the next decision that the Raiders have to make. If you have to tear it all down and blow it back up, are we going to see the Raiders become this like a defensive team? Are we going to see a Lou Anarumo go there because they're like, you know what? Enough with the quarterback whisperer. We can get a great offensive coordinator. We're going to go with DeMeco Ryans going to the Texans and turning that defense into something. Like, you have a Max Crosby. You have good guys on defense. And if you're going to take down the Chiefs at some point in your tenure, you got to be able to take down Patrick Mahomes. So why not become a Raiders team that's really known defensively? Because the quarterback thing was not working.